Hey, what's up, guys? It's Infinity Anakin back with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about Anakin Skywalker. It's in my name, Anakin. He's my favorite character in Star Wars. Yep, that's why I named my name Infinity Anakin. So today I'm going to be talking about why he's my favorite character ever in general. So first of all, I've loved Anakin for a long time. I grew up with the prequels, and in episode 1, he's like this child prodigy. He's the chosen one, high midichlorian count. Qui-Gon wants him, and he's so special. He has these amazing pod racing abilities because he has Jedi reflexes because of his high midichlorian count, and he's just this interesting character. He's a slave. He's with his mom. He doesn't have a father, so he's like that one special person, extremely gifted, extremely unique person within the entire Star Wars universe. And he joins the Jedi Order late, and they don't really trust him. They think that because he's older, he has more of an attachment to his mother, and he's more likely to swing to dark side emotions like anger and fear. And they thought he had fear after he left his mother, and Yoda obviously spoke about how fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. They thought that was going to be his trajectory, and that made them hesitant with taking on Anakin in the Jedi Order. And I really loved him in episode 2 also, because we finally get to see how that anxiety with both, not just his mother, but also with Padme, led him to the dark side. We saw how his want for Padme and the thought of not being with Padme, it haunted him. So this was messing with him. And his mother died, by the Tusken Raiders. And we saw how he absolutely slayed those Tusken Raiders. He gave into the dark side, lost control, did things that he was himself ashamed of doing. So I love that entire story in episode 2. And in Revenge of the Sith, it all goes down, when Palpatine tells him that to save Padme, you gotta have to learn the dark side. You gotta have to learn these secrets that the Jedi Order were apparently, because Palpatine's manipulative, apparently keeping from him. And that made him take an interest in the dark side, and he was already stressed out with the thought of losing Padme. After those nightmares he had about his mother, which must have stressed him out and already led him to the dark side. That's one thing about Anakin, He had so many reasons, so many things that pulled him to the dark side. And he needed someone like Qui-Gon who could take care of him, whereas Obi-Wan was more of a teacher. He was always instructing him and stuff. Whereas Anakin needed someone like Qui-Gon, who would have instructed him, but would have also played a father figure role, Anakin didn't have that growing up. And I could also relate to him because when I was younger, I would struggle with anger more, and everyone's trying to get better from their aggressive feelings and not lead into that sort of mindset where you're just getting frustrated at things in general. And he grew up without a father. I didn't grow up with a father. So Anakin is one of my most relatable characters. And I've had strong attachments for a female before. So, and in all, I felt just like Anakin in that moment in episode 2 where he was, at the fireplace, and he really wants Padme to give him that same love, which he eventually did get. But, the thought of losing her was still with him through those nightmares he had in the future. And one thing I love about Anakin is that he always had an edge to him. He was unique from the other Jedis. He usually did do things his own way, and he was more aggressive than the other ones. And one thing I liked was, sometimes he'd do things that weren't really in line with the Jedi Order, like how he manipulated Cad Bane. He wanted to manipulate Cad Bane by using a force mind trick to get information forcefully with Windu and Obi-Wan, and how he interrogated Pogo the Lesser in the Clone Wars. And one thing I like about Anakin too is, when Ahsoka sort of gets framed and he's like extremely frustrated, and you can see it really get to him. After that, it's almost like he doesn't follow the no killing rule. Like he's super aggressive on Barriss and Asajj Ventress, and he kills Admiral Trench in season 7. It's he just like stops it. Like he doesn't have as much trust or faith in the Jedi Order ever again. And Star Wars Theory made a video once about how Anakin was played perfectly by Hayden Christensen in Revenge of the Sith. Some of the mannerisms he'd have was in line with Darth Vader's mannerisms. And I think that's really cool. Like, there's this one scene where Anakin's like, "Thank you, my master," after Palpatine makes him Darth Vader. And it's like, he has that same sort of tone. He has that same sort of way of saying things. And one thing I like about Anakin is that he was always conflicted. You know, so when Palpatine told him to do it, and he killed Count Dooku, you can see after he killed him, he was like hesitant, and you can see him thinking, like, I shouldn't have done that. It's not the Jedi way. You can see the confusion and the conflict in him. He didn't really know what to do, you know? And I think Hayden played him perfectly. Absolutely perfect. And he displayed those emotions, and even the scene where he kills the younglings, you can see that this is a man who doesn't want to do what he's doing. He's just doing it so he can get Padme, and he knows it's wrong. And he even had plans to overthrow the Chancellor. But yeah, he went down that dark path. It was so ridiculous. And him killing Mace Windu, what have I done? Like, you can see he is absolutely frustrated, distraught, and upset at the actions he is taking, and it led him to the dark side. And yeah, one of my favorite scenes in Star Wars is where Obi-Wan tells Anakin, "You were the chosen one. It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them, like bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness," because Anakin has that cool prophecy where he is the one who's said to like destroy the Sith in the future. He's the one who is prophesied to destroy the Sith in the future. So it's just such a shock to Obi-Wan. It's such a tragic story when he realizes that this is not happening, and his own brother has had his limbs cut off by himself because he has to protect people. And Obi-Wan doesn't want to kill Anakin, especially he doesn't want to kill anyone, especially someone so close to him like Anakin. And that's one of my favorite scenes in Star Wars, because it like just explains like the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker. One thing I love about Anakin Skywalker is the transition to Darth Vader, and how you can this guy is like fully like in a depressed, aggressive like state. He's a changed person. Even himself doesn't believe he's Anakin anymore. And he tries to suppress that part of himself, and he calls himself weak. And even in Rebels, when he's facing off with Ahsoka, he almost sees himself in a different light, and he's been brainwashed by Palpatine to think that they're two different guys, you know? And one thing I love about Darth Vader is how he brought balance to the Force in the end, and his own son, Luke Skywalker, gave him that redemption and told him that you need to let go of your hate. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully yet. I know my father is still there, like the good man, the Jedi. It's just such a beautiful story about how his son helped him redeem himself and destroy the Emperor. I was abusing him for all those years, and basically, yeah, made him do all of these evil decisions, make all of these like evil decisions, just so he could get what he wanted, which was saving Padme, which he didn't get, and now he's sort of an enforcer for the Empire. So, yeah. And that scene where he's with Luke, and he's like, "Tell your sister you were right about me." It's so emotional. Like, those scenes with Luke and Vader. Amazing. One scene I love in Return of the Jedi is the scene where Luke's getting absolutely electrocuted, and Darth Vader sort of relates to Luke. And he doesn't want the same thing to happen to Luke, the suffering that he's been through from Palpatine and just the world in general. And he gets really sad at this situation and throws Palpatine down. Another few scenes that I really love from Revenge of the Sith are the scenes where Palpatine recommends Anakin to ask to be a master. And you can see how overwhelmed he was. He even said, "I'm overwhelmed, son." Hayden Christensen brought that acting to life, where he took a deep breath and you could see how overwhelmed he was. And he portrayed that on the screen perfectly with his mannerisms, for his facial expressions. And Palpatine says, "They need you, more than you know." So you can tell that Anakin has been waiting to become a master. So when Palpatine says, when he goes to the Jedi Council, he's there with Mace Windu. And Mace Windu's like, "You're on this council, but we do not give you the rank of master." You can see how pissed and frustrated and disappointed he was. And Hayden Christensen is a brilliant actor. And he played that well to show how upset and disappointed that his hopes were not reached, expectations were not reached, his wants and desires weren't reached. And that sort of made him upset, and that leads you to the dark side sometimes, having these desires and being anxious that you aren't going to get it. And we saw that with Anakin, and he said, "This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the council and not be a master?" And when he spoke to Obi-Wan about it, you can see how frustrated he is. He feels disrespected by Windu, by the Order, where he's like, "It's never been done in the history of the Jedi. It's insulting." And Obi-Wan's like, "You've been given a great honor to be at the council at your age. It's never happened before." Because he's so gifted. He's so he's the chosen one. He's like this young prodigy. And yes, he wants it, and he feels inferior. So yeah, I really enjoyed that scene where he starts to doubt the Jedi Council, and they tell him to spy on Palpatine, and he feels this is not right, and he feels like it's treason, and he doesn't want to even take it. He has this growing frustration with the Jedi Order, and that's really interesting. One thing I also like about Anakin is the amount of care he had for his friends, like Padme and Ahsoka and Obi-Wan. You could see how when Obi-Wan's death was faked in the Clone Wars, how it really got to him, and how Ahsoka being framed got to him. Even when Cad Bane put Ahsoka in a situation where she was about to die, Anakin couldn't let her go. He was attached to Padme. He genuinely did care for people. Before the dark times, before the Empire. But yeah, that was my video on Anakin Skywalker, my favorite character in Star Wars of all time and anything. And yeah, peace.